Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. I've been quite busy trying to solve this case. You see, my dear friend known by the name of Gatsby was recently murdered. But yet, no one knows who killed him, or more importantly, why. But before I get into this story, let me introduce myself. I'm Detective Nick Carraway, but you can call me Nick. I've been sitting here for quite some time now trying to solve this murder, but I just can't seem to put the pieces together. Would you mind helping me? Great. Okay, here's what we know. Gatsby was a very wealthy man full of mysteries himself, and one of those mysteries was that he was in love with a woman by the name of Daisy Buchanan. But there was one problem. Daisy was married to a man by the name of Tom Buchanan, who was very rich himself. And although Tom loved Daisy, he was also cheating on her with his mistress Myrtle Wilson. Now, Myrtle was no single woman. In fact, she was a married woman. She was married to an engineer by the name of George Wilson. And let's just say that she didn't really care about her sins. Now, how about we move on over here and talk about Daisy's little mystery of love? Daisy was just a young girl when she first had a relationship with Gatsby, and she actually ended up falling in love with Gatsby, and Gatsby ended up falling in love with her. But just as soon as everything started to work out between them, Gatsby ran out of money, so he decided that the best thing to do was to go to war to make some more money. And although he had to leave, he told Daisy to wait for him. But as the years passed by, Daisy could no longer wait, and so she ended up getting married to Tom Buchanan. Once Gatsby came back from war, he was shocked to find out that Daisy was married. But Gatsby promised himself that he would not let all that time with Daisy go to waste, so he did everything to get her back. Everything. After 5 years of not seeing or speaking to Daisy, Gatsby finally decided to meet up with her again. So he secretly told someone to invite her for tea. And let's just say that the second they laid eyes on each other, they fell in love all over again. Believe it or not, now Daisy also started to have an affair with Gatsby. So Tom was having an affair with Myrtle, and Daisy was having an affair with Gatsby. But yet, they didn't know of each other's affairs. Now, you might think this is too good to be true, but of course at one point, everyone started to have suspicions. George Wilson of his wife Myrtle, Daisy of her husband Tom, and Tom of his wife Daisy. Day by day, everyone started to slowly catch on to everyone else's dirty little secrets, and that's when they knew it was time to confront each other. So one day, Daisy, Tom, Gatsby, Daisy's best friend Jordan, and I all decided to go up to town, and Tom and Gatsby ended up switching cars. Gatsby took Tom's blue coupe, and Tom took Gatsby's yellow hydroplane. They all sat in a hotel room and ended up confronting each other of everything. Tom confronted Gatsby of having an affair with his wife, and Gatsby told Tom that Daisy never loved him. It was all a big mess. But if you pay close attention, that leads us to suspect number 1, Tom Buchanan. Tom very much loved Daisy, and maybe when Gatsby told Tom that Daisy never loved him, he built up enough anger to kill Gatsby himself. But let's move on and finish the story and see what other clues we can find. Before the whole mess between Tom, Daisy, and Gatsby was going to get any worse, Daisy decided that she wanted to go back home. So Gatsby took Daisy in his car, and Tom drove me and Jordan back. As soon as we passed the railroad tracks, though, we saw police and a bunch of people standing in a circle, as if they were looking at something, so Tom decided to stop the car and see what was going on. As Tom and Jordan went one way, I went to go talk to George. He was panicking and crying all at the same time, so I calmed him down and decided to ask him a few questions. We both sat down, and the first question I asked him was what had happened. He said his wife was killed. She was run over by a yellow car. The reason she ran out was because I was arguing with her over some stupid collar I found in Myrtle's room, and it was the dog's. And right away I knew that Myrtle was having an affair with a rich man, because they would have never had the money to buy that collar. And after a few minutes of talking, he realized that Myrtle was yelling Tom's name when she ran out of the house. So right away, George got up and went up to Tom and grabbed him by his shirt so that he could beat him up, because he assumed that Tom had an affair with his wife and then killed her. But before George could do anything, Tom yelled out, "It wasn't me. I did not kill her. I don't even drive a yellow car. I drive a blue coupe. But I do know who drove the yellow car." The second George heard this, he put Tom down and asked him who drove the yellow car, and Tom replied, "Gatsby." This leaves us with suspect number 2, George Wilson. George loved his wife very much, and maybe when he found out that Gatsby killed his wife, he thought that he should get revenge and do the same to Gatsby. Now, let's move on. After the accident, I decided to go talk to Gatsby and figure out why in the world he would do such a thing. But as soon as we started talking, I was shocked to find out that Gatsby was not driving the car. Daisy was. And it was too late before he could stop the accident, and within a blink of an eye, Myrtle was dead. This leaves us with suspect number 3, Daisy Buchanan. Although Daisy loved Gatsby, she never told Tom that she did. So maybe she just had an affair with Gatsby for his money. And she also killed Myrtle, so what makes anyone think that she wouldn't do it again? After I talked with Gatsby, I headed back to the office to get back to work. And I got an anonymous call saying that Gatsby had been shot and that he was now dead. I didn't know what to do. All I did know was that I owed it to Gatsby to find out who his killer was. So here I am, writing down the whole story, looking for suspects, and it seems that I have ended up with 3. Tom Buchanan, George Wilson, and Daisy Buchanan. Now, I'm not exactly sure who to point out first. Well, how about we find out if Daisy was a gold digger after all? Let's call Jordan. Yes, hello, Jordan.
Yes, who is this?
This is Detective Nick Carraway.
Oh, yes, Nick, can I help you?
Yes, I wanted to ask you a few questions about Daisy.
Daisy? What's she got to do with me?
Well, she is your best friend, and I'm assuming that she's spoken with you since Gatsby's death.
Why, no, the last time we talked was the day of Gatsby's death.
Oh, really? Isn't that so? So did she possibly confess about something to you?
No. Why would she have to confess about?
Well, you see here, Jordan, I believe that Daisy was Gatsby's murderer.
Well, you see here, Nick, that can't be possible.
And why not?
Because Daisy left town before Gatsby was shot.
What do you mean she left town?
I mean that she packed her bags, got up, and left town with Tom and their daughter. They both believed that it was time and the best thing to do.
And now, how do you know she isn't lying to you? Maybe she just told you that she's leaving, so that you wouldn't suspect her of killing Gatsby.
Or maybe she was telling me the truth because I was with her when she left. I wanted to have a last goodbye, and after all, Nick, why would Daisy lie to her best friend?
Oh my God, you're right. Well, thank you for your time, Jordan. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Wait, so if Daisy and Tom left town before Gatsby was shot, that leaves us with only one suspect left. Mr. George Wilson. George Wilson! Why did you shoot Gatsby?
He had an affair with my wife, and then he killed her. I wasn't going to let him go without paying for what he did.
So you wanted revenge?
Yes!
George Wilson, you are under arrest.